When I look back at this year, now I've got 5 refurbs on the go.
Wow.
After having just one at the beginning of the year. And yeah, it's built up to this. And if I'd have started at the beginning of the year with 5 refurbs, I would have lost my mind. It would have been, so it's built up to this now, and now I'm in a better place where I can cope with the 5 refurbs. And part of me thinks, I've only completed on 10 properties.
Only.
I've got another 5 going through conveyancing, so it should be 15 by the end of the year. But that wasn't. My goal was 40, but then that goal was too high. And when I look back, I'm like that. I wouldn't have been able to manage that many refurbs so early on in my journey. So it's it's happened perfectly, and that momentum's built up to where I am now. And now I'm starting.
People, you're now watching the Daily Devotion Podcast, the space where we connect and engage with creatives from various industries to share insights on their journey thus far. Today we've got a very special guest in the building. Woo woo. She is a property investment strategist. She's the director of Gilburn Investment Property Group. She's a fun creative, a super mom, and a badass at karate. Introducing Rochelle Gilburn. How are you doing? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for
today.
the introduction.
Trying, we're trying. But I feel like the stars have aligned because I think we first contacted, I seen you on LinkedIn and I was like, oh gosh, just on LinkedIn, I was like, wow, she's got so much connections. How am I going to make this work?
I didn't even know you'd seen me on LinkedIn. I thought you just saw me on Instagram.
No, I seen you on LinkedIn first, and I was like, because my LinkedIn's so bland, I thought there is no way anyone's going to take me seriously if I just pop up So I thought, do you know what? Try the Instagram on the page, professional. You're right, and it was just so you're like, yeah, I'm keen, I'm up for it.
Yeah.
But that was 6 months ago, so evidently there had been a lot of significant growth.
Yeah, that's it. I think everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? And when you first contacted me 6 months ago, I was nowhere near where I am now. So there's been so much progress and change over that time. I've grown as a person. I've done way more projects than what I had done then. So I've probably got a lot more to talk about.
And you're obviously a Yorkshire lass. At first, I thought, wait, where's she from? She sounds kind of familiar, the accent. I thought, wait. And then after I went on your gram, I'm seeing you this property in Barnsley, this property in Sheffield. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I'm a Sheffield girl.
That's Sheffield lass.
Yeah.
Blade or are you Wednesday?
I'm not really that into football,
it.
But
Blade. Alright, I was a Blade.
Yeah, grew up in the lovely Pitsmoor.
Okay. Well, listen. Diamond in the rough.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what it is, you know what I mean? So, again, thank you for being here.
No problem.
Tell us a bit about what it was like growing up, Rochelle, your interests, your upbringing.
Yeah, so I was always really ambitious as a kid, and I'd always I'd watch TV programs like The Bill and Holby City. And,
classics.
Yeah, CSI. When I was watching The Bill, I wanted to be a policewoman, and when I was watching Holby City, I wanted to be a doctor. CSI, forensic scientist.
Yeah,
so I had all these sort of big ambitions and goals, and I was always naturally quite academic from being young, and I found school quite easy, and I enjoyed it. I loved being there. In fact, I used to ask for extra work.
Oh gosh, one of them.
I know, one of those people.
Miss, I've done it in 10 minutes.
I didn't really like being outside. I'm still like that now. Now it's cold. I'm like, no, I'd much rather just be inside.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
That's interesting because you say from Pitsmoor. So I can imagine your childhood growing up. Again, I'm sure you're seeing unpleasant things. So how did you kind of take yourself out of that and kind of cultivate this type of mindset, like you said, where you're ambitious and whatnot?
So I think from my parents, my mum was 18 when she had me, my dad would have been about 21, 22, and they always struggled for money, still do. Sorry, mum and dad. But they always tried the best to provide, because they'd had nothing growing up and they wanted more for their kids. So there's me and my sister, growing up together, and they just wanted to give us as much as possible, but that meant them, because they didn't know any better, and then all of a sudden you have access to all these credit cards and things like that, that meant they both got themselves into debt, and I just constantly saw them struggling. And then obviously, like, in the area there's lots of other people, lots of poverty, lots of
crime, like criminal activity. Yeah, definitely.
And I was lucky to, I went to a Catholic school, and then I went to Notre Dame at Fullwood, as a lot of us did, and I think that helped a lot, going to such a good school. But I think I was always the type of person that it wouldn't have mattered what school I went to, I would have always sort of tried my best, and I say try my best, but I was always kind of person that I didn't necessarily really have to try. I could just...
It just came easy.
It came naturally. And I was saying to you before when we started about how I'm naturally... I think people look at me and they think, oh, she's doing well, she must work really hard. I'm actually quite a naturally lazy person. So I, if I can do something in, like, if I can write an essay in one page, I'll put absolutely everything into that one page, rather than writing it in 10 pages. So I sort of know how to use my time.
But I wouldn't call that lazy. I'd call that efficient.
Yeah.
Like, I know my strengths, and this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to imply it in this way, and that's it. I'm not trying to elongate the process. I just want it quick and
to the point.
To the point.
There's no point in waffling when you can say it
in a short
time.
So, all right then, Holby City.
Yeah.
For y'all that who don't know, I know a person that watched it, to be fair.
What?
The bill I did, Brookside. Do you remember Brookside?
Yeah, I did used to watch Brookside.
Brookside was classics. So obviously you were very inventive at the time, thinking, oh, I see that, I could do that. Or a doctor, I could do that. Policewoman, I could do that. What did you lean towards in, say, like school or college or?
Yeah, so I love science. I still love science now. Like, bit of a geek.
Hence why the CSI,
yeah. I've got this dream. When I'm a billionaire, I want, like, an Iron Man, Tony Stark's got. He's got, like, I don't even know what it is, a lab, and he can just, like, he's just touching everything like this and spinning it around, and he puts his hand in the glove and he makes his robot hand, and that's what I want.
That is going to be
I want to make robots and build myself an Iron Man suit.
Well, the kids will be loving that.
Yeah.
The kids will probably be doing all of that. So I liked the science, but I also really liked art. Okay.
So I did loads of, like, drawing and painting, and loved clay and everything like that. So I loved art at school. So then it got to, I loved writing. I pretty much liked everything. There weren't really a subject that I didn't like. So then when I came to sort of going to A levels, it was like, what do I pick? How do I narrow all these subjects that I really enjoy into like 4 subjects? So I was torn between being a journalist and being a doctor. So they were like my 2 options.
Two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah. And it felt like, I think everyone feels like this at like 16. You're like, oh my God, I've got to make the decision what I want to do, literally for like the rest of my life.
It's a lot of stress.
It is.
It's a lot of stress.
It's difficult. And I think looking back, if I was advising myself, I'd have probably picked something like engineering, because I could have got the balance of both, like the creativity
and it's got the science.
So I went into doing A levels, and I think, how long did I do it for? I did it up. I think I completed my AS, so the first year. But I also had got a part-time job. I started going out a lot. I got a boyfriend.
Raving.
Got a bit distracted from the studies, and I just weren't enjoying it. So I left sixth form and I went to do art. So like completely the opposite end of the scale.
Art is like a part-time job, or art is just
as a BTEC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah, so I did that at Hillsborough College, and I specialised in graphic design. So I enjoyed that. That was good.
That is very impressive.
Because you can use both your right brain and your left brain.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow.
You're
right. She's a
superwoman. She's a superwoman. A superstar. This is what I'm saying. It's taken us so long to get you in the building now here.
So I think that was the difficulty for me because I do like being creative and I do like being academic. Like finding something, I felt like I needed that balance. And when I was doing art, although I loved it, I didn't feel like I was using my full potential.
Yeah, it's not stimulating that other side of the brain.
So I did an art degree, and then I got offered. So I worked at the 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐤 Stadium in Sheffield. I worked there for 14 years. So I started at 16 as a waitress there. And then when they found out that I could do graphic design, they got me like editing posters. So normally it cost them like £60 an hour.
30 quid, yeah, I bet.
I'd be like minimum wage, change a few dates and stuff, and then I set up the Facebook page for them. And then they offered me when I finished university a full-time marketing job.
Wow.
So that's how I like got into marketing. Yeah.
So we have a Rochelle who grows up in an area where there's a lot of distractions to then being the girl that can do everything at a high level, competently, deciding that, you know what, I don't really know what I want to do, end up doing art, but then it's not your average kind of route of art where people would say fine art, well, no art is average, but fine art and the drawings, to then graphic design in your part-time job, and you weren't even a graphic designer.
Yeah.
And you ended up being a graphic designer full time.
Yeah, well, it was more like, so I was doing the graphic design, so I was designing all the posters, all the artwork, I was updating the website, I looked after the Facebook page, I wrote the like email shots, so I pretty much did like the majority of the marketing for the company, and I absolutely loved it. And that was where I was doing the design, but I was writing, I was having meetings, I was coming up with ideas, strategies and all that side of things, so that was just like, yeah, it was but at the same time I ended up staying way too long.
Like a lot of us end up doing, and that's the thing. And
you get comfortable.
And this is why I wanted you here as well, because we like to capture real depictions of what, you know, fulfillment looks like. And it doesn't have to be, you know, slaving away for 20, 30 years. You can find that balance, which you have. Yeah. And we're definitely going to chop that up. So obviously being a creative, that would have helped you have this kind of inventive kind of mind in the marketing side, even though it's two different, like, it's two different fields. Yeah. I'd say I'm a creative, but I hate numbers. I hate that all of that stuff. I kind of struggle to do both. So at what moment did that become like your actual career as a marketer?
I think quite quickly I realised that, like, after probably halfway through my art degree, and I did some work experience at a PR agency, and I did some work experience at Meadowhall for their marketing team, and I realised that this is what I want to do. This is how I can get the best out of me and cover everything that I'm good at, instead of just going down that one path. So
we've got art, graphic design, art, marketing, property.
Yes.
Like how did that's a big jump.
It seems like it, but right, I'll get to that point in a minute. Let's go back to, so when so I was doing the marketing at the dogs, and I had, while I was there, I had my two children, so they're 5 and 7 now. So when I had Maisie, my eldest, I went part-time, and I think at that time of my life, like, my husband had got a good job, he was like supporting us, and I sort of almost lost all the ambition that I'd always had, and all those like
all the big dreams to do this and do that.
And that's it. And I think when you talk about like, why aren't women in these big career positions and stuff, and I know you do get some, but like at that point, all that really mattered was making sure these two babies were like looked after, and I got brain fog and I couldn't concentrate properly, and I couldn't work all the hours, and it was much more difficult to be career driven, and I sort of just settled and just started plodding along, and that just became like
a comfort zone.
Yeah, very much a comfort zone. I know this job, and then and I was doing the same thing every year as well, because there's always Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas. Like, it's always the same
Easter,
promotions.
Promotions. She's talking in marketing terms.
That's it. But it was that. It was like, oh well, I'm coming up to that again. I've got to redesign that poster that I've already redesigned for the last 6 years. And it was just getting to the point where I'm now the kids were starting to get a little bit older, and I started thinking I probably need to start thinking about making a move from where I am now to somewhere else. So while I was working part time, and this is the sad bit of my story, so I'll get this over and done with quickly, and then we'll move on to happy stuff. So my husband passed away while I was working at the ground stadium. And so my kids will have been 4 and 2 at that stage. So I had 6 weeks off work, and then I could have had longer. They were supportive, but I was going stir crazy. It was like, what, I can sit at home and just think about things and be depressed and like, I don't know, do twiddle my thumbs, just sleep all day. But that wasn't. I was like, I just need to get out. I need to get back to work, because I can't just. It was alright. Like at first, everyone's around you, everyone's supporting you, but then they've got to go back to their lives as well. And then it just got to a point where I had nothing left to do. I'd done all the finance stuff, I'd planned the funeral, and I think I went into like robotic sort of mode.
Where it's just everything's autopilot, and that kind of, that in a sense is a part of the grieving process as well, to just get everything, aligned. Obviously you have to contact people and
that's it.
The services.
Yeah, so it was a difficult time, but like the kids kept me going, definitely. And then I think going back to work, it probably was too early. I probably could have done other things, like tried to keep myself busy in other ways, but it felt like the right thing at that time. But then, go on.
Sorry to interrupt, but you've gone back to work 6 weeks after 6 weeks, but your husband is the director at work.
Yeah, so he worked with me. So it was like, not only, like, I think like lots of people have lost people, and I've lost like both my nanans and my granddads, and you miss them, and even now, like, I still miss them, but I don't think about them like every minute of the day, because they weren't in my life all that time. Like, I might have seen them once a week.
The space looks different.
Yeah, that's it. So while you're at home, you don't necessarily think about like your grandparents, but when it's your husband, and it's like you're used to him coming home at a certain time, and used to him sitting in a certain place, and there's all those sort of memories being at home, and then you think, oh well, work could be an escape, but no, he also worked at work, so there was all those reminders as well. So while there were like in some way there were lots of good memories as well, but it just wasn't the same. The management had changed. The people who were in, like, a couple of my close friends were off sick, so I didn't even have like a support network, like a close friendship or anything at work with anyone to support me. So I ended up I think I was probably depressed at the time, so I went off sick a couple of times and just didn't really know what to do with myself.
Where to turn.
But then I ended up deciding, actually, I just don't want to work here anymore. I need to do something else. I applied for lots of jobs, but getting a part-time job as a mum, trying to fit everything around the school run is so difficult. So I thought, should I go full-time? But even then, I was applying for full-time jobs, and they were saying you finish at 5:30, but it wasn't logistically possible to pick the kids up from the child, from after-school club and nursery, and at that time. So it was just like, okay, well, I'm going to have to just find something that's maybe a step down from what I've been doing. Stay part-time. So I did that. I went to work for a lady in Doncaster. I think she was probably one of the first people I was quite inspired by. She started off working in an estate agent, and then she ended up buying the estate agent.
Wow.
So I think she had 3 estate agents, a mortgage broker, a bar, a restaurant. So I was doing the marketing for all of them, but in like 20 hours. So it was quite like
intense. Yeah, definitely
intense, and
especially still trying to nurture the household. And sorry to just interrupt there. I just want to just say ratings, because we all experience trauma, but late husband, you have a family. You obviously said that the work, everything surrounding that trauma would have been so on top.
Yeah.
And I just think that because you're a soldier and you just always just have this drive to keep going and try other things and balance and maintain and still raise a family and I don't know, it's like try and stay positive without the support, and it's
I think that's
big
it.
respects.
I've
big
always been
respects.
like a positive person, and obviously when something like that happens, there's no real way to put a positive spin on it. But I always just think like, okay, well, one life's already been wasted, so why waste my life now? I've got to live my life for myself and like for my late husband, and so that's what I've tried to do, make the most of it. And and also like I am happy. Like I think it's easy to get. Like I said, I was depressed for a little bit, and I think I just felt lost. It was like my whole life was up here. It was like just gone like that, and nothing was certain anymore.
After you've already had all these plans and vacations, holidays, birthdays.
You sort of know, I've got I'm doing this in a few weeks, and this is what we do every week, and this is what we do at Christmas, and it's like every time a first thing came around, it was always difficult. I had quite a lot of firsts straight away because he died in the October, and then it was his birthday in the November. My birthday is November, then you've got Christmas, so it was like all those things got out of the way quite quickly, which then sort of gave me the breathing space. To sort of get on with my life.
Superman.
Yeah.
Superstar. I told you, Pete. I told you.
So then you were asking me, weren't you, about how did that lead to property?
Yeah, and I just think also, as you were saying that at the time, after the saying, do you know what? I'm leaving that marketing job. I'm going to do it for this lady who's just become an entrepreneur in Doncaster for her bar and stuff. Obviously, I think having seen a person also do it for themselves it did inject a lot of life into you to think, do you know what, well, I can do this, I can do that as well. Yeah,
because I think when I got that job, I was like, I just want something just to give me something to do. I don't need anything to pay me like loads of money or anything. I just need something that's just going to keep my mind busy, like have some friends around, that sort of thing. Like I felt like I was no longer career driven, but at the same time I felt like I'd lost like a fire inside me that I'd previously had. So then this is where I lead into how I got into property. A few years ago I went on holiday to Cuba, about 4 years ago. So
lavish.
4 years ago went to holiday. It was for a wedding, but like the second week we were there, it rained the whole time we were there. And
stress.
I was there with Joshua, will have been 15 months, Maisie was 3, and we met a couple from Doncaster, and they'd got like a 4-month-old, a 15-month-old as well, and then a 5-year-old, and like our kids, while we were chucking it down with rain, there were no kids club or anything, just like entertained each other. I bet you're thinking like, why is she telling us that? Really relevant. So we became really good friends with this couple, came back home, met up with them, went on play dates with the kids and everything, and stayed in touch. And then one time they were like, we've been and done this property course, and now we're gonna buy houses with other people's money and renovate them. And I'm like, what? I've literally got no idea what you're talking about. Why would people give you money to buy houses? Like, why don't they just buy the houses themselves? It makes no sense. Like, and then they were telling us about how they paid this much to join this group, and and I'm thinking they're getting ripped off here. Like, what are they actually doing?
Because there are a lot of things out there like that, all them pyramid schemes. You never see people getting ripped off.
That's it, and it was something that I never heard of. Like in terms of property, I've always been. I used to watch Homes Under the Hammer all the time. And
Extreme Makeover.
I loved Extreme Makeover, and it was like lots of things were happening to do with property. I'd been doing some Facebook posts and a bit of like marketing stuff for an estate agent. I went to Vegas with the girls for our 30th birthdays, and I met an estate agent on the plane, and I literally spoke to him like for about 7 hours. This was all before I got into property. Spoke to him 7 hours all about property, and I didn't actually really know anything about property, but it was just amazing. And then I started working for this estate agent lady, and it was like everyone around me all of a sudden was in property. So actually this couple that I met in Cuba, that people who were in property, and I know you know them, that was Ellie and Mark Mackay, and they're really like big in the property world at the moment. So I was friends with them before they got into property. And then so after my husband had died and I'd been left like some money, and I thought I'd quite like to build a little bit of a property portfolio. So I started talking to them about that, and she was giving me some advice, and she was going to help me find a property. And then the more I talked to her about it, the more I was like, actually, this sounds like something I could really get into. And the thing is, like you said, everyone's always like, I don't understand how you go from marketing to property. But what I do, a lot of it is about marketing. So I market to people who are looking to build portfolios of houses. So like I call them investors. So I'm marketing to potential investors. A lot of them are in London, down south, where houses are so expensive they can't afford to get on the property ladder there. But in Sheffield or Barnsley, where you can pick something up for under 100 grand, like it's achievable.
It's lucrative for them. They're like,
But they're like, they're busy professionals. They've not got time to be travelling up Sheffield and scrolling through Rightmove and going and doing viewings and putting offers in and building a build team around them, and they've not got time for that. So they need somebody else to do it.
Manage that for them.
So that's where I use so last year. So it was only the beginning of 2020 when I got into property. So
lockdown.
Exactly, that's it. So I did this course, came out buzzing, thinking, I'm going to take over the world, it's going to be amazing. And set up a website, set up like all my business and everything. And then they were like, oh yeah, you've got to stay in the house now forever. And I'm like, oh right, okay. Well, I can't view houses because like the first lockdown, everything closed, didn't it? So I couldn't go and view houses. I couldn't do anything. So I had to. I thought I still want to do property. I don't want to just stop, because I've got all this motivation and momentum. And if I stopped and waited for the lockdown to finish, then who knows what?
Who knew when it was going to end at the
that's
time?
It.
Right. So just like full speed ahead. So the stars were aligning for you.
Yeah.
It seemed like that. Obviously, being friends with Ellie and her husband before they even got into property, and now they're like gone.
That's it.
In the game.
She probably wouldn't have entertained me now if
you didn't know her. Being in Vegas on the plane, just happened to speak to a guy who's interested in property.
Yeah.
The stars were aligning.
Definitely.
A course. So like, what does this course look like for those who don't know about like property courses? Or
so there's loads and loads of property courses about, and I think the most popular, like the biggest one in the country, is Progressive, but the one that I did was up in Glasgow with a guy called Paul McFadden, and he's amazing because he's similar to like. I don't think my childhood was quite as bad as what he was, but he always tells a story about he came from the worst place in Glasgow, had no money, all clothes was second hand, he was getting into like gangs and lots of trouble.
Humble beginnings.
Yeah, and then he ended up, he didn't want that life for himself, so he went to a college away from where all these gangs were, and started out and built up his life, and now he's a millionaire. So he's come from nothing to so like aligned with his story. And basically what he teaches is how to fast track what he spent lots of years making mistakes. And there's loads of people out there who are selling that kind of thing, and it's maybe not like the most value for money, but I learned more in those 4 days.
It's a 4-day course?
It's a four-day course. I learned so much in those 4 days. They teach you about how to find investors, where to find investors, how to like do e-pitches, how to find the houses, 'cause as well as finding houses on like Rightmove, I also have my own sort of home buyers company, which is Sell Your House South Yorkshire. So I get people coming to me who need to like sell the houses quickly, or maybe they just can't be bothered with the hassle of putting it, like tidying it up to put it on Rightmove, or if they're in danger of repossession, which has not been a lot of over the last couple of years because of like the lockdown and mortgage breaks and everything. So it's been like fortunate, obviously. But they teach you all about this and how to manage the refurbs, and it's an intense 4 days.
4 days.
And you come away and you're just buzzing. And
I bet you were loving it though, right?
Yeah.
Being a sponge.
So full of energy. You've met amazing people. They push you out your comfort zone. You have to get up on stage and do some presenting, and you're doing speed networking, and it's just an amazing start. And then they do give you like support as well through the year, so you get like weekly Zoom calls and everything. They've got different levels and a few different courses that you can do, but that's basically the start of it.
And then it was lockdown.
Yeah.
So it's like I've got all of this. Like,
what do I do? I'm fired up.
I've got the fire back.
Yeah.
I've got the fire back, and it's lockdown.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do now? Obviously, at that time, it was crazy for everyone, but especially the property market's closed. So for like us or freelancers and stuff, we can still find ways to get a little bit of income creatively, whatever. But property, it's like it's closed.
That's it.
How do you build any networks or build relationships in that time? Like, how did you?
Yeah, so it was basically LinkedIn. LinkedIn became my life for like probably from the March until the kids went back to school in September, because obviously I've got these 2 crazy kids at home as well that I'm supposed to be homeschooling, which started out absolutely brilliantly. The first 2 days was like I was the best teacher in the world, and then the rest of the 6 months they were in front of YouTube.
Oh, gosh. No,
we did other things as well, obviously, but it felt like that. And it was difficult, but on LinkedIn, I'd got access to all these people, and everybody was bored, so everybody was on LinkedIn. Everyone was looking to connect and wanted to have Zoom calls and just talk to people, because everyone was lonely. And obviously I got my marketing background and building the Facebook page up for the stadium. I learned how to post about mundane things, or post the same thing over and over again, but put a new like interesting twist on it.
Sick.
So obviously when I was starting out, I'd never done property before, so I couldn't, and I'd not got any properties, and I couldn't go and view properties.
But
so
you have done the marketing.
Yeah, I couldn't post about a property. I couldn't say, I've been and viewed this property, or I've done this. So I had to think of other things to talk about. So I was listening to like lots of audio books and I just. And I was on social media, so I just talk about like general observations and insights,
just
and
random stuff.
Just find things to put. So I was posting every day consistently, and I was connecting with people, and I drummed up like a really big following. I got a few viral posts. Like my biggest one reached 800,000 people.
I need
on
that.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Like, share, and subscribe. Rochelle Gilburn. Daily Devotion Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah,
800,000
views.
800,000 views.
Yeah, do you know what it was on as well?
What?
It was about Lewis Hamilton, like last year, Formula 1. And I get a bit like, you know when you see on Facebook and people be like saying, oh, it's his car. He's not anyone could win in that car. And I'm like, so he's getting paid like £40 million a year for driving a car that anyone could win in. Yeah, I believe that. So it just wound me up, and I think it just won. So I did a post on it, and I just the way I did it was a bit it was a bit of like clickbait sort of thing, because I was like, I started off being negative and saying, oh yeah, anyone could win in that car, and is rubbish basically, and saying what everyone else had been saying, and then going on to say, no, actually, like, he's amazing, and we need to appreciate him for who he is. So it caused a lot of debate, because he's one of those people, I think people either hate him or they love him, don't they? That's it.
From my point of view, that is genius from you.
Again.
Because it's like, again, like, literally the number one. Because it's like, you kind of, how do I describe it? It's like, you knew what was going on, and you kind of use that situation in your
to gain the traction.
And kind of starting off negative is like telling them what they're used to hearing, what they want to hear, but they kind of switching into your own thing, like
switched it up.
Yeah, it's like
switched it up.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it just drew that because a lot of people disagreed and thought it were awful, and then a lot of people agreed, and then some people didn't read the post properly and were having a go at me, saying that of course he's amazing.
I do this whole
that's what I was
what's
saying.
it?
Read my post properly.
Like start to finish.
Create a lot of engagement. Then
Yeah, starting that conversation.
Yeah. Wow.
So when, by the way, that is sick. Like that is sick. So we do need markets at some point. So do you know what I mean? You're kind of busy now. So all right then, you've used your mind as Paris was saying, in a genius way, a creative way to get all this engagement. When did that engagement actually begin to be about property?
Yeah, so it was like, at first, I think, obviously I did this 4-day course and then came off, and you feel like you're a property genius, and actually you've really not got a clue. Like you've been given this information, and so many people take that information and do absolutely nothing with it. Yeah. But I was determined I wasn't going to be one of those people. I was going to be like in it for the long haul, and so I started doing like I'd get people. You get a lot of time wasters, and there's a lot of people. So in the industry, we're called sourcers, which I don't really like that term. Yeah. We source properties for investors, and so you get a lot of people who come off these courses and try selling you rubbish deals, and they get a bit too enthusiastic. And I don't think many people are like trying to rip anyone off. They've just been told that they can do it, and then actually putting it into practice is a completely different thing. But you also get a lot of people who contact you wanting like impossible deals, and I think they just put things out just to they blanket everyone. So we're having lots of calls with people, and I remember the first call I had with an investor, and he ended up being like a time waster, but it was so like I was so nervous, like so the anxiety kicked in, my heart was racing, but then when I was talking to him, I was like, oh, I actually do know quite a lot. I have learnt a lot, and I know what I'm talking about hypothetically, and then I've always tried to be as honest as possible with people about like when that I was only just starting out, and but this is what I'm planning to do.
Which I think he would have appreciated, because there are a lot of promises that people say, I can get you this. We've seen it, haven't we? We hear these people that say, just out of self-belief, I can get you this, and they can't deliver.
Yeah, that's it. And then like the more people I talk to, and the more my LinkedIn presence built, the more I started to feel a bit like a fraud, because I thought people are looking and seeing that I've got like 15,000 connections, and thinking that I've been in this game for years and years, and I was only like, I'd never renovated a property, I'd never bought a property, I'd never done any of it. But the more people I talked to, the more my confidence built. And then once lockdown actually ended, and it was like I feel like it was September when the kids went back to school. That's when I really could start going out viewing properties, getting deals, and I got somebody because of having the kids and everything. I got somebody to come and work with me, and we were both. He was covering Sheffield, I was covering Barnsley, and we found a few deals between us, and that's when it really started to. This is actually going to work. Yeah.
A few. I seen a lot. I seen Rochelle on Instagram every day. Yeah, this and that. Look at this one, that one. 4 or 5 posts, just Barnsley, Sheffield, Rotherham, Doncaster. I'm like, wow, it shows how much things can pay off if you actually apply yourself and have the landscape to operate. Obviously now COVID's kind of over, and the kids are back to school, and you've got a bit of support around you. It's like, it's working.
So start putting the plan into action.
And so action, what is your first property? Was it
my first property was for me. So this was one of the things as well. I was a bit like, I don't want to experiment with someone else's money. I want to make sure I can do it myself first. Mm-hmm. So the first property that I renovated was a flip that I did for myself. So I bought it, renovated it, sold it. So I had this builder following me around for nearly a year, coming to all these different houses, giving me quotes and everything. And he were really cheap, and he seemed like he were organised and knew what he were doing. And so I gave him my first project, and then he'd underquoted. because he weren't getting paid very much money, then he started taking other jobs, and like the refurb got delayed, and then he ended up saying, oh, I can't do it anymore, and walking away from the project.
But it's still half done.
Yeah, it was still half done, but luckily my dad is a bricklayer by trade, and he's like a general handyman, can fit kitchens, can do floors.
Like most dads.
Yeah, pretty much anything. So I was like, Dad, I really need you to help me and come and finish this refurb for me. So I got him in, got my mum in doing bits. So like my mum and my sister were cleaning and doing like bits of decorating, finishing off and everything. So that was like my first experience, but it was like, right, I've done it now. I bought a property, I've renovated the property, I've sold it. It's like everything. It worked out in the end, and the good thing was I'd put the offer in the September, and then because the property market's been going like this,
because COVID's over,
I ended up with like 15 grand more profit than what I was expecting.
Nice.
So it was never the best deal. I just needed to get my first offer accepted.
Successful.
Just needed to do the process basically. So once I'd done that, then it felt like everything was easier. So I completed on that property in the beginning of January. So I bought it beginning of January, and then since then I've completed on 9 other properties. So one of them's my own buy-to-let that was the last one I've just completed on. So that's my first rental property. So that's like, this is why I got into it, because I wanted to build a rental portfolio, and I wanted like a passive income and that generational wealth and everything. So I've just had that one, and then I've had a couple where I've been doing sort of a joint venture with investors where they buy the house and fund it, and then we split the profit. Yeah.
So, first of all, big respect on that first flip, because obviously you're thinking, I just need to get this over the line.
Yeah.
And obviously they aren't cheap. However, as you said, they're cheaper than what they would be in London. You just said that passive income, that kind of generational wealth. Do you feel that your choice to live a more free and independent life, obviously still being a mum, still trying to provide and nurture a lifestyle, that you are more fulfilled now?
Yeah, definitely. It's like I can drop my kids off at school in the morning. They're at after school club a few days a week, but I pick them up, I get to spend time with them. I can do work in an evening, or I've started back at martial arts, which we were talking about earlier.
Kick ass, man.
So I did karate from being about 10 to 14, and then I went to taekwondo. I was a black belt in karate. And then the only reason I left karate was because I was in a club where it was all like kids, and I was always really tall for my age, and I wanted to fight.
You were just beating everybody up, weren't you?
And kick them in the head. So the taekwondo club were mixed adults and kids. That's why I went there, and then I got glandular fever. And I ended up being off school for like 6 weeks. Obviously, I had to stop doing all my martial arts, and then it was in my GCSE year, so I'd got loads of work to catch up on. So I found it difficult to go back. Like before I got glandular fever, I was training 5 times a week and then going to competitions on a Sunday.
It's a discipline sport.
Yeah, I loved it. I'd like, people would be like, oh, will you come to my birthday party? I'm like, no, sorry, I've got karate. It's all a bit weird.
Kicking ass.
You're willing to make sacrifices.
Yeah,
for your dreams,
that's it. I think so.
That's
that's definitely the type of person I've always been. And yeah, I think I was like gutted when I stopped doing it and couldn't do it because of glandular fever. But then it was just one thing after another. It was the getting a part-time job and getting a boyfriend and then having kids. And life got in the way, and there was always a reason. I tried a couple of times to just go back to like a new club, but it just never worked out. And then it was at the beginning of lockdown, like in the March lockdown, I'd seen a club that did daytime classes, but I couldn't fit it around my part-time job. And then I noticed one of my friends who goes there, she posted that they were doing online Zoom classes, and I was like, oh, I can do that. I can do that around it don't matter that the kids are at home, because I just log on my computer and we trained together. So I started doing that in March, and then when we went back to real life, I started going to the classes during the day. And that's like one of the things, because I've got my own business, it's given me that freedom to be able to go and train. I've been training this morning before I've before I've been here, and so yeah, I go every Tuesday and Friday morning, and I'm not a black belt anymore. This is kickboxing, what I do now. So it's I started off, because I've got previous experience. I started off about the middle. I'm a red belt with a black stripe, and then the next one's called a cycle belt. That's a black belt with a white stripe, and you have to be a cycle belt for a year, and then you can take your black belt. So I'm like, I'm definitely aiming for black belt as minimum. I want to, keep going.
Hit the heights.
Yeah. I've got a little brother now. He's 8, and he goes to, he does gymnastics. My mum's doing exactly the same with him as what she did with us. Spend all the money on making sure he can have the best childhood, and paying a fortune so he goes to dancing, he goes to drama. He's done gymnastics. He gets to do a lot of things. But I went to watch him. I remember going to watch him at gymnastics, and it was at Hillsborough. And I sat there watching, and I'm thinking, I don't know. There was just everyone is it's so expensive. Everyone comes from such a privileged background.
Place to take the kids there.
Who can go there. And I'm like, what about all these kids that parents can't afford to send them to these hobbies? And I've got altogether I've got four brothers and 1 sister. My other three brothers have got the same dad as me, but a different mum. And my youngest of my dad's kids, him and his mum, they've never had very, very much money, and he's always got into a lot of trouble, and he would have liked to have gone to martial arts or boxing, but there's never been the money there for him to do it, and that makes me sad that he's not had those same opportunities as what me and my sister and my littlest brother have had. And that makes me want to give back to the community and people who can't afford to do all these things. So I'm like, right, if I can set up this martial arts studio and I can fund it and make it more of a charitable thing, I pay what do I pay for my martial arts? About £120 a month. So it's not like a cheap hobby. So the majority of people in Sheffield, especially in in Pittsmore and in the port, they can't afford that. So it's what can I do to make it so that these kids can get into their that? I think the first thing that I'm going to do is sponsor someone to get to the black belt, pay for all, just one or two people pay for all the classes and all the gradings and everything, and get them to the black belt, and that'll be my first goal. And then as I get more money from the property business and everything, start my own studio.
Dojo.
Yeah.
Listen, 2 people, karate classes, black belt, yo. We can do that,
Yeah.
No, that's sick, and I suppose it obviously being so disciplined in every element of life that you do, whether it's professionally, as a mother, your relationships, how you handle business, everything is so disciplined. And I suppose the karate and that element of exercise, sport, whatever, that helps you balance the hectic life of, I'm viewing 10 properties today, and then I've got this investor, and I've got a joint venture here, I need to kind of...
I think property in itself is it's like a roller coaster. Today I'm having a really good day. All the refurbs, unless I've got any calls, are all going to plan. It's not too stressful. I'm feeling a bit relaxed about it. Last week I'd got the plasterer I can't come again now until next week Tuesday, and I got someone else saying, I can't come Wednesday. I'll be there on Monday, and everyone's sort of delaying it. And you've got this problem, and there's a leak at this property, and this is happening there. So or a property's fallen through, or there's just always problems coming up. And I think that one of the my favourite things about both the property course that I went on and then the martial arts class that I go to, they're so big on mindset, and I think that's what I've always had quite a strong mindset, and I remember, and I think that has come from the martial arts. And I remember I went to karate camp when I was I think I was about 14. I went a couple of times, and it was a group of us all went to a activity centre, and we did quad biking and rock climbing and all that sort of stuff.
Almost like a play scheme.
Yeah.
But then there's a competition.
Yeah, but then you also do you get up in the morning, you do your martial arts training, then you go for breakfast, and then we did lots of different styles and stuff like that. And I remember my martial arts teacher from while I was at karate camp, and he was saying I'm always happy. I don't see the point in not being happy. you don't feel good if you're not like so it's just like trying to look on the bright side of things, keep yourself positive, keep your mindset strong, and then it allows you to just keep going. And I think like the way you're describing me, I sound like I'm amazing. I'm like,
it is amazing.
I told you before, I'm like, I think everything with me, like I know my strengths, and everything on the front of my business is very shiny, but like admin and stuff, that's not my strong point. So I've got like my VA to do that, and like that's what I'm working on, trying to get more organised. And I wouldn't say I'm good at time management, but I know the right things to do, and I think that's important. Like a lot of people who did like the course at the same time as me or similar times, they're much harder workers, and I remember like a couple of my friends sitting there and they were doing plans of what they were going to do this week, and all these different filing systems and Excel spreadsheets for everything. And then I was like, have you viewed any properties? They're like, no.
I need to be out there executing.
Have you talked to any investors? No, because they spent they focused the time on the wrong thing, and I think that's what I'm good at, knowing what to focus my energy on.
What your strengths like.
Yeah.
And that's important because I think all of us are looking for that thing. Like, he loves his mindset box. Paris, I'm surprised he's not even asked that question yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you asked that question yet, because y'all know he loves that. But he's very strong in mindset. I'm very strong in mindset, and I think we kind of delve into this self-help kind of book reading. Well, I did. What's the thing that I need to do to become that person? Which path am I going to take? And as you said, I just think it's discipline. It's just being so like, I know my strength, and I know what I'm good at, and I'm just going to be so disciplined to just do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of it as well is like, it's not necessarily making big massive moves, it's just consistency, and that's how I built my LinkedIn up. It weren't that I was spending 24 hours a day on LinkedIn, it was just making sure I was posting every day. So spending 10-15 minutes writing a post, and then like connecting with a few people, commenting on a few people's posts, and just doing that consistently, and it has that momentum and like domino effect, and it gets you going. And that's like when I look back at this year, now I've got 5 refurbs on the go.
Wow.
After having just one at the beginning of the year. And it's built up to this. And if I'd have started at the beginning of the year with 5 refurbs, I would have like lost my mind. It would have been, let's say, it's built up to this now, and now I'm in a better place where I can cope with the 5 refurbs. And part of me thinks, I've only completed on 10 properties.
Only.
I've got another 5
That's
going through
massive.
conveyancing, so it should be 15 by the end of the year. But that wasn't. My goal was like 40, but then that goal was too high. And when I look back like that, I wouldn't have been able to manage that many refurbs so early on in my journey. So it's like it's happened perfectly, and that momentum's built up to like where I am now. And now I'm starting to think, okay, how can I like level up and take that to the next level? Yeah.
So for people that are watching who are keen on property, like my mum loves you. She's like, do you know what, son?
What's her name?
And it's Cecily.
Oh,
she's
Cecily.
like, what, you got your shout out, mum? And she's like, look, like, I want to be able to buy my home, and like, for those who are watching that don't have the knowledge, is it as straightforward as just having the startup capital? Are there any things that people can tap into, like it's got bridging loans or something like that to help them?
I think that's it. There's so much free stuff like on the internet. Like, so Paul McFadden, who I mentioned earlier, he's got YouTube channels, podcasts that you can start listening to, and he gives so much information in those. There's no reason why you can't start up a property business just from that free stuff. And then there's another guy called Rob Moore. He does a lot about money and
management side of things,
and also about property. So it's like, start listening to these things, but there's so much. Like I didn't even know, like I said, when Ellie and Mark first told me that they were doing this, I didn't even know that was a thing. So you can start with very, very little money. Obviously having a bit of money helps, but I think what I've noticed is, like, say if you won $2,000 today, people will be like, I've got $2,000, right, I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy an Apple Watch and buy some new trainers, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that, and all the $2,000's gone. But it's more about like thinking about, well, how can I invest that and make that $2,000 make me $4,000?
That can turn into 8 to 10.
And it can start off with much smaller amounts. I don't know if this was a question that you were going to ask me, but I listened to Secrets of a Millionaire Mindset audiobook. And I've listened to that a couple of times. And
can you say that again, please?
The Secrets of a Millionaire Mindset audiobook. But he's saying, like, start managing your money now. So even if you've only got 1 pence, start managing it. Like, start thinking about what you're going to do with, like, I'll save 1 pence every day for
how many days?
It's going to and then I'm going to up it to 2 pence a day, and then
compound interest,
and the compound effect, and before you know it, you can start saving more and more, and getting to that point where you can then start buying, like if you want to buy into crypto, or you want to.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, that's it. There's all these options out there, but people don't know about it, so people just think, oh, I'm poor, I've got no money, I can't do it. I've not got a spare
dollar.
Yeah.
I quite love. I know how. You want to ask a question? Just
she mentioned books.
Yeah. Obviously, it was about the books. I just love how you don't lean towards this fast track kind of thing. Like, it's about the understanding. It's about connecting the dots backwards instead of thinking, oh, I've got the money, so I can just. No, it's about the understanding about the function of money and how, if I do these things consistently, I'm going to build wealth, which then I can then invest into something that's going to build more wealth, instead of just thinking I've got a lump sum, I don't know what to do, I'm just going to blow it, and then that is a pattern.
Yeah, definitely.
We have.
I think, to be honest, it's something I wish I knew when I was younger, because like I've always been like, I left school and I got a job in the dentist for 6 weeks, working full time, but I was also working at the dogs in the evening. So I literally worked 9 till 5 at the dentist, and then did 3 nights a week at the dogs. So like by the end of the summer holidays, I'm like, yes.
You was caking.
and before that, I'd always like babysit for like my mum's friends' kids and stuff like that. So I was always like, I knew I wanted money. Like I knew I wanted more. And then every summer holiday at uni, I'd get like a part-time job or a full-time like temporary job cleaning, or I'd do like anything just to like. It weren't just for the money, it was also to keep myself busy and provide me with the lifestyle that I wanted. Like, because I went to Notre Dame, like a lot of my friends did have money.
You could see it as well, it's very obvious.
My best friends were all like, oh, we're going to Newquay. I'm like, well, my mum can't afford to give me money for Newquay. I'm going to have to earn the money for Newquay myself. And then they're going to Malio and they were going to Stanton. So I'm having to keep up with these people who like, they got a mini boat for them for the first car. They got the wedding paid for by the parents, and they've always had a lot more like a better start. So it's like trying to keep up with these people, but I did just like spend it all, and I wasn't like thinking about investing it for the long term. But now I know what I know, and if people could like there's no time like the present. That's what I'm always telling my investors. So many people I speak to, they're like, oh, I've been thinking about investing in property for like 10 years. But then it was Brexit, and then it was COVID, and then it was waiting for January, and then something happened in January, so I weren't able to do it. And like, well, you've just got to sometimes just go for it and do it. Yeah.
So like, in terms of the processes then, because obviously it's not that straightforward. If a person was going to invest, is it best to go for buy? Obviously, it's going to be dependent on what they earn, but is it best to just do flips? Is it best to do the mortgage? Is it best to do the buy-to-lets? Obviously, I'm trying to squeeze these gems out, or is it just dependent on what?
Yeah, a lot of people, so like sourcing, what I primarily do at the moment is good for people who haven't got their own capital starting out, because you get your fee from your investors for buying your property and everything. It allows you to build up that bit of capital. And a lot of people do it part-time alongside the full-time job, so it's like they're willing to put in that extra effort and like making sure they're viewing properties, and they're doing there's loads of methods to get off-market properties, like posting letters to rundown houses and all that sort of stuff. Oh, if anyone knows of any rundown houses, I pay a £500 referral fee if it leads to a sale. So if you can just pass those addresses on or talk to the owners and put them in touch with me, then
like, share and subscribe.
That's it, and then you can invest that referral fee
into the property.
Yeah.
So you obviously have your hands in different pies, juggling different projects. You've got joint ventures.
Yeah.
You have your own properties. You flip 9 now. What's next? Like, what's next for Rochelle?
This is what I'm trying to figure out. I'm like, how can I up my game for next year? And I'm like, I don't think it's a case of just having more properties next year. I think it's going to be more of a case of working smarter and seeing how I can make like more money from doing the same but being more efficient. Like I probably wasted a lot of money this year figuring things out, and so yes, that's the next step, trying to figure out how I can do more with what I'm doing now. But I do want, like, my vision is to have, I'm the only sourcer at the moment, but I want to have a sourcing company, and I want to have a big buy-to-let portfolio that'll provide, like, my boyfriend, he's a joiner and he only earns money if he physically fit, like, at the moment he's fitting a kitchen for me.
It works. Go on, mate.
Yeah.
Top man.
It's like, he only earns money if he's physically there doing it, so it's getting the business to a stage where it runs like we're going overnight, on holiday with the kids for 2 weeks next year, and I'm thinking I don't want to be in a position where I'm worrying about work and I'm constantly getting phone calls. I want to be in a position where I can leave people to manage that and know that I'm still money's still being generated. I can still earn an income. And I've not mentioned this yet, but one of my goals with my business is to be able to. So I want to be able to retire my mum, retire my dad.
Big respect.
You know, I'm providing jobs for, like, my brother's been doing some work for me, my sister does some work for me, and just like bring in the family and help them to make more money for themselves so that they can provide for their family. So it's not just about like me and my kids and providing for like my immediate. It's like
it's generational.
What can I do for everybody else? They sacrifice so much, like paying a fortune for me to be able to go to karate, driving me up and down the country to all these competitions. Like,
to beat people up.
Yeah, beat people up. Now I want to be able to help them. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, you know, because I think it is about the bigger picture. It is about, you know, I'm repaying the sacrifice back what they did, but I'm not the only person who benefits from it.
Yeah.
Everybody in their own circle can be self-sufficient and show everybody else on that ladder how to also be self-sufficient. That's and it. That just
and I really like the idea of like inspiring people and trying to encourage people to do more with their life and realise that they are capable of doing so much more.
I want this podcast to come over to you got a question in your bed.
Time is it?
No, bless.
No, honestly, first I just want to say you are a beautiful human being.
No,
honestly.
Thank you. Question that I like to ask everyone that comes on is 5 books that you're currently reading.
Okay. Yeah. That's an easy one for me.
So easy.
I'm not reading at the moment. I do enjoy reading, but when I read, I tend to read teenage fiction because I'm a bit of a geek. But I listen to Audible. I have a lot of audio books. So at the moment, I'm listening to 12 Week Year. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. So it's basically about, so when you've got, like, say, a sales company and you've got a goal of what you need to reach for the end, by the end of the year, and people pick up a lot of momentum towards the end when they know the goal, when the goal's in sight. So it's like that momentum that you get for those last few weeks of the year. It's like, well, why not have that 4 times a year? So it's like it's all about like planning your 12 weeks. Planning your weeks, planning your days, so that you're getting more work done, you're being more productive. So
another one
I've just listened to is Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits by
I'm not very good at names of
that book. I've not read it, but it's a book.
Yeah, you should listen to it.
Yeah, it's been on my list.
My new habit, my first habit that I've started doing is 2 press-ups a day.
Listen, start with somewhere, do it consistently.
This is where the book's really good, and I love talking about audiobooks, like, so I could talk about these all day. But with the Atomic Habits, is like, if I went in and I was like, I want to do 10, 20 press-ups a day, I'm not going to keep up that habit because it takes too long. It doesn't sound very nice. Like, I hate press-ups. It's like my weakness. I'm always getting told that I need to work on them. I tend to do them on my knees. I want to be able to do them on my toes. So I'm like, right, if I can do 2 press-ups every day, and it's slotting it into habits that you already do. So it's like I get out of the bed, go into the bathroom, do my 2 press-ups. So I know. So there's no like ambiguity to when I do it. It's not like saying, oh, I'll do it at lunchtime. I've got an hour lunchtime. Do I do it at the beginning of my lunchtime? Do I do it at the end of my lunchtime? And you think, oh, I'll do it at the end. And then it gets to the end and I've not got time. I've got to get back to my desk because I've got that call.
And I've got 20 to do or 15. It's like, it's like, it's too big.
It's too big. So it's like saying, right, as soon as I close my laptop for my lunch, I'll do 2 press-ups and then off I go. And then once you've been doing it for so long, it builds it into a habit. And then you can start to increase it. So I'm like, okay, well, after I've been doing it for maybe a week or so, I'll increase it to 3 press-ups. Yeah, and it's not going to seem like a massive jump. And then before I know it, I'll be doing the 10 press-ups. But it's a habit now, so I do it every morning. I don't have to think about it. It just comes more naturally. So they're the kind of things that there's lots of other habits I need to work on. So I've just been listening to Secrets of a Millionaire Mindset, which I mentioned earlier. I've listened to that twice now. Wow. I'm going to listen to it for a 3rd time after I've listened to 12 Week.
Wow, so what are the 5 ideas from that audiobook? What are the 5 ideas?
From the Millionaire Mindset.
Even just 3.
Even 3. Yeah.
Just 1.
Just 1 idea from them. Maybe
it's
2.
So at the moment, like, everything literally just goes out of one bank account for me. Not business, but personal. And it's about breaking it down. And it says like save 10% of your income each month, and you're saving that for long-term savings. Invest 10%. Have 10% for your play money so that you can feel like you've got a lavish lifestyle and do something really nice with that 10%. So you might like go for a spa day or go and like, I don't know, do some car race, just something that's a bit like different so that you can feel like you're getting rewarded for that money, and it's not
I've
just
still got the lifestyle to go with it.
a lot of people like, I need to save, but then they're miserable, and it's like, why be miserable and saving? You need to get that
enjoy
balance.
The buzz of still being able to still live, because that there is living wage to wage. I've done that. I think all of us have been so guilty for it. Get paid, splurge it. Dying.
I remember going out on a Wednesday night and I got paid at midnight, and I'd go out with like next to no money, knowing that my money was going to drop into my bank account at midnight, and then spend a lot of it. And I think everyone's guilty of that, living wage to wage. But then they also talk a lot about your money mindset and your wealth thermostat. So people are set, like a lot of people have a job, they get paid 25 grand a year, and that's what they feel they are worth. So if you applied, like they've done like experiments and stuff where they've put 2 job adverts out, the exact same job, one's for 25 grand, one's for 50 grand, and the 25 grand people will not apply for the 50 grand job because they don't feel like they're worth 50 grand. So it's about, it's all a mentality thing. It's about upping your wealth thermostat and believing that you are capable of like earning more.
Infinite
and like money's energy and all. It's a good book. I like that one.
So just since you're talking about financial, so for you, how important was it for you to learn financial literacy in what you do?
Yeah,
especially because it's big amounts of money. It's like houses are going 130, it's a lot of money to kind of.
It's still a big learning curve for me. In the first audiobook, actually, when I first started listening to audiobooks, I listened to was Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's a good one for anyone who's into audiobooks. That's like always seems to be one that it just changes your way of thinking and everything that you've like ever been taught. And like you don't get taught anything about money, do you, at school?
No,
so that's
nothing.
Yeah, so it is important, definitely, but it's still work in progress, and it's still like that's why I listen to Millionaire Mindset, and it's like, how can I manage my money better, because I've got money and I've got it here and I've got it there, and it's invested in all different projects, but it's like generating also a cash flow from other parts of my business, and it's quite complex, so it's a tough one, but it is important.
It's very important. And what's more important is he's been able to translate that information to other people.
Yeah.
This is why we love doing this, because we want these gems to give to other people to kind of go out and do their own research. So I've got a lot of books I'm gonna be having like a look at, and also a lot of things. And I know anybody who's watching will be like, oh, that's actually. It's not just about property. It's not just about wealth building. It's about mindset. It's about accumulation, consistency.
It's funny when you come off the 4-day course that I did, came off, and everyone, like, you finish this course and you come off and you're like, you're meditating, you're like
Zen.
Yeah, you're having cold water showers, you're listening to audiobooks, like all these different things that, like, what?
Doing yoga.
You wouldn't, you don't think that you'd go on a property course and come off with that. But it's all like the mindset, how to make yourself a better person, how to be stronger and cope with those like pitfalls that happen when you're on the roller coaster journey of like property, but also of life. Yeah.
I just wanted to say like big respect,
thank you.
And all of the kind of the hype it's real. All the hype, it's real. I remember seeing you on LinkedIn, as I said earlier, like it might have only been a couple hundred connections, and then next minute you're growing that to 15, 16, 17,000. You started with your property, you built that portfolio, you have endured trauma, you flipped that and being super positive, you know, raising your children, you know, still traveling, living life. It was your birthday the other day. Happy birthday, happy belated birthday, still living. Karate, black belt. It's just the marketing. It's just so much. It just seems so imbalanced.
Thing. You've got to enjoy your life. Like there's no like I still do. I go out a lot. I'm off to Glasgow to do. So I've got a mastermind property group. So I'm off to Glasgow in a couple of weeks for that for 3 days. I went to Ibiza with my boyfriend in September. Like I want to still be able to enjoy my life and live it with the kids and the people that are important to me, but also like I'm building for the long term as well. Like looking forward to when the kids are old and we're gonna have a bar in Bali and.
You will listen.
Get lots
VIP.
of accommodation around the world.
Invites, you know.
Yeah, I'll remember. Yeah, you'll be there, innit?
I'll be there.
With your podcast
hopefully,
your big goals.
Hopefully, a part of what we do is to inspire, as we are inspire. Show true depictions of what fulfillment looks like. You are a depiction of that, a true depiction of that. And you're so happy, bubbly, so smiley. If there's anything to say to a person who's trying to find that fulfillment, that independence, that freedom, that passive income, or just that life that they're happy with, what would you say to a person like that? Like all of us in a sense.
Yeah, so like I was saying about you've got to do things. I know so many people who are sort of stuck in a rut and they've got nothing to look forward to. And I think you need those plans in your life. You need to not feel like you're living the same year, the same day over and over again, because you're not going to get inspired by that. So even just listening to a podcast and getting some new ideas in your mind, so you've got new things to talk about and you're growing as a person. 2 other really good audiobooks to listen to. Tony Robbins, which one is it? I can't remember which one it is, but all there is are brilliant. I've listened to one of them. I think I've listened to it about 4 or 5 times. When I'm driving up to Glasgow, I always put it on, and it's like so inspiring. And then the Chimp Paradox. That's really good.
The guy who wrote that book is from Sheffield.
Is he?
He's from Sheffield.
I didn't know that. I need to get him on your podcast.
We can try.
Yeah. Because they're both like understanding yourself, and I think that's something I've always been good at, and I feel like I know who I am. I understand myself quite well. I know my triggers. I know like what kinds of feelings I have and what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy. And I think it's finding yourself. And I think once you find yourself, like happiness is so much easier.
I think, as you just said, that you've known that from a very young age, even in the midst of having all these interests and almost being good at everything. It's like you've almost like steadied the ship, like all of this stuff's going on and you're just here just cool. I'm not saying it's been smooth sailing, evidently it hasn't, but just balanced.
Yeah, that's it. It's just how you respond to it, isn't it? I've always been like naturally quite a chilled out person, so I don't get very like stressed at things.
So just
take it easy. Yeah, we're only here once. Enjoy yourself, but also plan for the future.
Interesting one. Have you ever had to use that karate in the flesh?
I don't think I have actually. No,
Okay,
I've
cool.
been lucky. I'm touching.
You're lucky.
my-
Yeah. Cool.
Touch wood.
No, honestly, I just want to say thank you for being here.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Sharing your insights, your story, your humour, your energy, just everything. I really, really appreciate it. And I know that we will see you in bigger places to come.
That's the plan.
Agreed with that. Where can we find you on socials?
So LinkedIn's a good one because if I get connections, I tend to connect with most people on there. You can follow me on Instagram. I tend to post a lot of selfies, and then but in my stories, I do have the property stuff in my stories. I created a property Instagram, but I just find having 2 Instagrams is hard work. But I do plan to make more of a separate property one on Facebook as well. As long as we've got more than one connection, I'm likely to accept you.
And is it Rochelle Gilburn? Is it at Rochelle Gilburn?
Yeah,
on LinkedIn,
yeah.
Instagram?
There's only one Rochelle Gilburn.
There's only one Rochelle Gilburn. That's what I'm saying, the truth. But you listen.
Google me.
Thank you for tuning in, guys. Special episode. P, you good? He's got his books. He's all right.
I'm good, man. I know what books I need to go.
He's got his book list. He's all right. People, big up yourself, Rochelle. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Give thanks. Be respect. Jeez.